Okay, really quickly I'm going to try to show you how to make a stacked boutique bow because I've looked all over on the internet and had a hard time finding those myself. Okay, to start out, what you're going to need is some scissors, a glue gun, a lighter or something else to sear the ends with, some embroidery floss, and a needle and thread. The ribbons I'm going to be using, I already have them pre-cut. I'm going to have 2 pieces of 20-inch ribbon that's going to make the outer bow, 1 piece of 15-inch ribbon which is going to make the inner bow, 1 piece of 18-inch ribbon that's going to make my little middle accent bow, and 2 5-inch spikes. So if you want to take a second and do it with me, then you can go ahead and cut your pieces out. First I'm going to make the bottom layer, which is just the 2 spikes. And to do that I have my 2 pre-cut 5-inch pieces. I'm going to put them together and fold them in half. Then I'm going to fold the ends in half again. And I'm going to cut from the middle to the outside edges up at a diagonal. And this way that makes sure that all the ends are cut at the exact same angle. I'm going to fold them in half one more time. Crease the middle so that I know where the middle is. And then where the crease is in the middle, I'm going to stick a stick pin just to hold my place. That way I can move them around and they don't come off the middle. I'm going to make an X with it. Then I'm going to take my needle and thread, which I've already put a knot in the end of the thread, and just start sewing it together, weaving in and out. When I get to the top, I'm going to take my pin out, pull my needle and thread on up, and then pull it tight so that it scrunches. And I'm going to wrap it around a few times. And then I'm going to take my needle and put it back up through somewhere, it doesn't really matter where, and loop and just tie a knot in it just to tie the ends off. And then cut the excess off. And that's what your finished one will look like after you cut all the edges off. The next piece I'm going to make is the biggest bow. And this is, I have 2 pieces of 20-inch ribbon, and I'm going to heat the ends of them just to keep them from fraying. I'm going to put them together and fold them in half so that we can mark the center. I'm going to put a nice crease in the center so that I can see where the center is. I'm going to hold the center with my finger. Now to make the boutique style bow, we're going to make a loop kind of like an awareness ribbon that sits on the center. I'm going to do the same thing with this side, but just in the opposite direction. Loop it like an awareness ribbon. Pick this up so you can see it. It's just double looped like an awareness ribbon. You're going to take the center of this side and pull it down to the center. And pull the center of this side and pull it down to the center. And this is the base for your boutique bow. From here, I have a couple of these clips that I'm going to use just because I have a hard time holding it steady in place. And I'm going to need my needle and thread again. And then need to move it around, make sure that it's even exactly in the center. And actually going to just start like I did before, weaving it in and out of the center. Now this ribbon that I have, it's actually very thick, so it might take me just a minute to get it in and back out. Okay, now that the thread is run all the way up, I'm just going to start pulling the thread if I can. This is really thick ribbon. Trying to scrunch the ribbon down. It may not scrunch much more than this for me. But just so that the ribbon is scrunched up some. You can tell what's going on here. And then again, I'm going to wrap the thread around a couple times. And I'm going to stick it back up through and tie it off. You may want to do this more than once. And now I'm going to cut the excess off here. And naturally it needs some fluffing, but this is going to be the base for the boutique bow. Okay, now on with this boutique style bow. The way that I'm going to make it so that you can actually see the inner ribbon is actually to pull it all the way out and put just a dab of hot glue. Stick it back inside just a little bit. Actually glue it to where there's a little bit of ribbon hanging out. Probably about half of the ribbon will be hanging out. I'm going to do that on all four sides here. Be careful not to burn yourself, as I do very often with the hot glue. You just need a very tiny amount of it on these. And this is the finished bottom layer for the boutique style bow.